This is Dusty. Today I just want to give a few tips for rogues that are starting out, in Diablo 4 in particular. Just to let you know, I am a rogue that has unlocked Torment difficulty at level 61. I'm level 62 now, so I did that not too long ago. And I'm not following a particular meta build, so I do think that I'm doing particularly well. Well, anyways, the first tip I want to give rogues that are starting out is that rogues' damage output, or any class's damage output, is directly related to their the amount of resources they have. And rogue in particular does not have any good resource generation at the beginning. So at the beginning, I do highly recommend that you at least stick to puncture to get fundamental puncture, so you could make an enemy vulnerable, and then temporarily use rapid fire, so you could use improved rapid fire. This way, it will return 15 energy every time you hit a vulnerable opponent. So the total cost of the skill is only 10, which means you could use it back to back. Of course, you could swap it out later. It won't cost much. But if you want to keep it, feel free to do so. Still, that's at the beginning before you get to use any particular aspect that would help you control their energy, your energy usage. So, relatively early, by the time you unlock the what's it called, occultist, which will help you use your codexes around level 21, 22 or so. You do want to start hunting down particularly codexes. The two codexes that you want to grab at the beginning are the ravenous aspect and the energizing aspect. The ravenous aspect allows you to get 50% more energy, as you can see, over 4 seconds when you kill a vulnerable opponent. And the energizing aspect is so you don't, for whatever core skill you're using, you're not going to run out of energy when you're in the middle of a fight. So, these two are located in, well, this is Act 1, Fractured Peaks, this entire area, and at the southwest of Fractured Peaks is the Steppes area. You want to get to this particular waypoint, the ruins of Kiyusu, and this is a stronghold, so you do need to free this area first before you gain access to this particular dungeon, which will grant you the ravenous aspect. As a slight bonus, just slightly northwest of here is another aspect which will increase your basic skill attack speed. So grab that too while you're at it if you want. The other aspect is in the northeast, or mostly east part of Act 1, which is the Sanguine Chapel. This is where you're going to get the energized aspect. You do need to progress through part of Act 1 in order to unlock this, but doing that will be relatively beneficial. Speaking of aspects, if there's any particular aspect you want, you could look it up in your codex, which is on your map screen, over to collections, Codex of Power, and pick an aspect that you want. Like, for example, ones I recommend grabbing early is the rapid aspect, and this one you'd want to stick to because it'll help reduce the time you need to use your resource generating skills. So, and speaking of codexes, if you have one that you want to grab, you just have to pick pick one that you haven't unlocked yet, and it will pin it on your map. As you can see, all I do is follow this line, and it will tell me exactly where to go to reach this particular aspect. Of course, it's a very long and perilous journey, but since enemies do scale to you, it shouldn't be overly difficult to march over to this particular or any of these locations that you marked. Might take a long run, but if you're unlocking an aspect, it should be worth it. Okay, let's unpin this. Okay. Next, I'd like to tell you to not worry too much about your build. Like, as you can see, this is not a meta build at all. It's very non-standard. So, even though this is a non-standard build, it is still really strong. But that's mostly because of me gearing out. It has very little to do with the skill itself, the skill choices that I made itself. It relies heavily on how well you're geared. So, relatively early on, you're not going to feel all that powerful. In fact, you're not going to feel all that powerful until the latter end of nightmare difficulty, which is when you're starting to get sacred gear. That's when you know gear has reached a cap for a particular difficulty. In particular, sacred gear generally has a item level cap of 700, around 700, give or take. It could be a little above or it could be a little below, but 700 is around 700 is a good spot for close to end game gear that you get on nightmare difficulty. Of course, at torment difficulty it goes higher, but at the end of nightmare difficulty is when you start to create your builds. Speaking of which, you're gonna get a lot of gear, and generally speaking, you do want to dismantle any rares and any legendaries that you're not going to use. So any yellows and oranges, particularly for legendary gear, you do want to dismantle. Gear that or aspects that you're not going to use, because over at the occultist, in order to imbue an aspect onto a piece of gear, say, let's just put a random one, it will require some rare crafting materials that come directly from salvaging legendary equipment. So, even if you unlock a codex, you do need to eventually break down break down legendary gear in order to grab the materials to actually put the codexes into your gear. So,
Until spring.
so don't hoard up your legendaries. Destroy the ones that you don't need. Following that, when you do get gear that you want to use, regardless of level, you do want to upgrade your gear even as you level up, particularly for your weapons. For your weapons, I suggest you upgrade maybe 1 to 2 pips, which is not that expensive. Maybe 3 pips if you plan to keep it for a while. The only reason why there's 5 pips here is because it's a sacred piece of gear. But yeah, upgrade the gear that you plan to keep for a very long time. Like this particular unique, I plan to use this until 100. That's why I fully upgraded it. But as you can see, upgrading this gear, it does require some standard, rare. First 2 pips, you're only going to need these 2. Starting the 3rd one, it's going to start to get rare, and 4th, you could only get from legendaries. The 5th material, you could only get from hell tides, for the most part. So, don't worry about the later parts, just keep your weapons at the most pips, keep your, mostly max out your, accessories, because your accessories you're going to keep for a very long time. Like this one, or like this one. As you can see, the item level is only 337 plus 20. But yeah, I received this relatively early on, but yeah, it was something worth keeping. That's why I fully upgraded it, and I plan to use this for a very long time, because it's very hard to find a ring like this, or a amulet for that matter. Basically, these are very hard to change out. These, you do want to change out your headpiece, your body piece, your leg piece, and your boot piece often. It's only your arm piece that you might keep for a little while. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. So, all your normal and blues, you just sell to the vendors. Let's see, what's next? Oh yes, I also recommend you make some potions whenever you can. Particularly the weak potions, like weak assault. Weak assault. Yeah, increases attack speed by 7%, which is quite a lot. It's very difficult to find gear that boosts attack speed, so this is something you want relatively early on. Do keep in mind, even though you have all of that energy regeneration, like 8 energy from lucky hits, faster attack speed, increased energy generation, attack speed, restore energy, and restore energy. Even with this much, I find myself running out of energy very often. So, no matter how strong your build, always work on improving your energy generation, especially with items like This will restore 40% of my of the resource uses I've used if I could hit 5 enemies or more. And glyphs like this, where if I could critically hit an opponent, it restores 12% of the energy cost. And even with all these, I still find myself running out of energy really fast. But in order to showcase this, I guess I should head into a dungeon, show you what it's like. Let's go to a dungeon that's relatively close to a waypoint. I guess that'll do. And this will showcase that regardless of what build you're following, it is going to be very strong. Mostly due to your gear and not particularly skill dependent. But yes, I do realize that there are builds that are slightly stronger, but they're not that much stronger. So yes, I'm like breezing through all these enemies, mostly because I've upgraded my gear. So regardless of your build, as long as your gear is upgraded, you should have very little issue doing damage regardless of your build. Let's see. Right. As one of the things I advise you to do early on is to try to stick to this main story until you get your horse. Your horse does so much. To begin with, this moves at around 150% of your movement speed. I should know because my character could move relatively close to this speed. Let's see. As you can see, I have 141% movement speed, and whenever I run side by side with a person or a horse, I run not that much slower than them on foot. But yes, the horse itself will grant you 100%, 150% movement speed, and I don't know what the speed is when you sprint, but it's really useful. And this comes about halfway through the story, somewhere around halfway. So it's going to take a lot of effort before you can get the horse. But you're going to need the horse for things like gathering all these altars of Lilith, which will boost your stats quite significantly. And you do need to finish the story before you could access Nightmare difficulty. So, or World Tier 3. So, early on, I suggest focusing mostly on the story and worry about the side quests and the extras a bit later on. Of course, you do want to do the extras. You do want to do the extras, but not that early. Let's see. What next, or what other tips I want to give? Uh, Specializations, I highly recommend sticking to inner sight. I mean, these other two are particularly useful, but inner sight is probably a must if you want to do high-end damage as a rogue. As far as equipment, what you're looking for in equipment, it really depends. If you want to do higher level content or content that's beyond your level, you do need a lot of defense. For example, my armor. I have quite a lot of armor, not quite a lot of life. As you can see, my maximum life is far above 1,793, and my armor is, well, very significant. That being said, you need a lot of defense if you want to do higher level content. You are going to get hit by your enemies, regardless of how good you are at dodging. No matter how good you are at maneuvering your character, you need to survive a few hits if you want to do higher level or content that's above your particular level. Like I needed this much armor and this much life in order to progress to World Tier 4, which is a level 70 requirement. So, yeah, I did that at level 61, and I needed at least this much armor and this much life just to survive through it. But yes, the game is only going to get progressively harder as you go higher in World Tier. Like, even if I go to World Tier 4 right now, the minimum enemy level is around 73, I believe. So, yeah. What next? I think that about covers most of it. Anything else is build specific, so anyways, I'll leave it at that for now. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.